everybody and welcome to my channel. I am Moody and in this video we're going to be sculpting DEKU Saving Eri. Just talk a little bit about the character while the head sculpt is happening in front of us here, because we've sculpted the head 1,000 times. There's nothing really new here, keeping the symmetry on for as long as possible. I'm going to sculpt both of the characters' heads. And I'm going to use some reference to get like a size guide between them, but yeah, there's nothing really new going on here, just filling out the forms and everything like that. So I want to talk a little bit about the character and why I chose to sculpt them. First of all, DEKU is one of my favourite characters from My Hero Academia. This is also an awesome scene to sculpt from. There's some really cool poses from the characters here, and this is probably one of my favourite fights that DEKU's in, because it's the first time he gets to use One for All at full power without injuring himself. So it's like a turning point in the animation where you actually finally get to see DEKU go all out, and it's in one of the most epic scenes ever where he gets to save a little girl that's being tortured by this villain. It's just awesome. So my son again is one of the ones that I put some more sculpts to him, and I was like, what do you think would be good? And we went with DEKU Saving Eri, and I think it was a good call. It turns out to be a really, really nice sculpt. So with all that being said, let's jump into this video properly and see what's going on with the sculpt. So I've just added some ears. We're going to sort the hair out now. I cut some of this out because it takes so long, so I jump back in stages. So in any second this will cut out, and then it will, there'll be more hair all of a sudden, and then the hair will be done all of a sudden. But the hair's fine. It's just nothing new. It's just using the tube tool and using the profile tool, I think it's called, in the bottom there to make some hair shapes. So I'll jump back in when the hair's done, and we'll see where we're at. So pretty happy with the hair. I'm going to bring in the female base mesh, and I'm going to start working on Eri's head. I don't actually do all of her hair, again, full disclosure. I bring in some hair that I sculpted from another character just to speed things up a little, but it's the same process, and it's just to save me a bit of time. I do pose the hair again later on just to make it a bit more, match the scene a little bit more. Again, we'll let Eri's face and head sculpt play out. Nothing really new here. Again, I'm just following the reference to the best of my abilities with symmetry on, and I'll jump back in when we get off the heads and faces. So here we are. I had a few hairs to start with just to show everybody what's going on in the sculpt, and then I'll import some hair in a little bit. There we go. So what we're going to do next is we're going to start working on the pose. I haven't actually added any expression to Deku's face because I think how far I push the facial expressions is going to depend on how far I push the pose. So I'll come back to that in a little while once I'm happy with the pose. So yeah, again, I'm using an old reference here of Saitama because I just think it's a really good body pose. One thing I do differently is I pull his hand across the front of him to sort of like emphasize that he's going to swing out and hit with his right. And this is a pose that Deku does a lot in the show, with his hand up like this when he's about to do a smash. So yeah, we'll again, all I'm doing here is posing the characters. I do have a base mesh that I use, which is set up in the hierarchy to make it easier to pose. But yeah, once this is done and we actually start moving on to the anatomy, yeah, I'll jump back in. Okay, so here we are starting on the anatomy now because I'm pretty happy with the pose. So I'm just going to fill in all of the gaps and then start adding rough areas of anatomy that I know we're going to see. So I don't go absolutely bonkers on the anatomy in this one because again, like Deku's wearing like a full sort of onesie for his armor. Eri's mostly covered by a t-shirt and bandages. So I do a basic anatomy pass on both of these guys, just so that I know whether the clothing is going to fall and stuff like that. It just makes it easier for me to choose where to draw the creases out from on the clothing is all. So yeah, again, we're just going to be doing a rough anatomy pass on this and, you know, tweaking the pose as we go to make sure that I'm still happy with it. Yeah, I'll jump back in again if anything different happens. Actually, before I do shut up again for a second, I want to talk about why I chose this pose for a little bit. This is actually the pose just before he delivers the finishing blow to, I think it's Overhaul that he's fighting. And yeah, again, when I first watched this, I absolutely loved it. I was like, I don't want to say shouting at the screen, but yeah, I was pleased with the result of this this fight between these two characters. And like I said, seeing Deku go all out for the first time without injuring himself was just next level. So yeah, love this anime, love this show, love these characters. I'm probably going to do a few more My Hero Academia characters at some point just because I think they're so awesome. I definitely want to sculpt All Might. And yeah, I'll jump back in if anything interesting happens or when we move on to something else that I think we need to talk about. So yeah, let's go. Yeah, so when sculpting a leg like this, that's like that's fully bent and like locked up like the way it is now, it's important to remember that where the skin touches, like there has to be the same volume in the flesh, right? So if you, for example, are stretching something and it doesn't shrink in the middle, then it doesn't look like it's stretching; it looks like it's growing, right? So when the leg is bent the way that it is, it's important to know that there's contact there, and the fat and the muscle on the legs is going to spread to the side. Which is why I was, you know, pulling out the sides of the knee there where the crease is and building up a little bit of fat there. So yeah, just a little note, like don't let things change in volume because you'll notice that, and it won't look like it's stretched or squashed. It will look like it's just grown, you know, like or been extended. So yeah, just a little note there. And yeah, I'll jump back in if anything else comes up. Yeah, doing the same on the elbows here, where his arms like cocked back, ready to punch Overhaul. So yeah, just remember, like I said, if there's contact, it's going to be pushed out. It's not going to change shape or cut into each other. The flesh and the muscle is going to be pushed to the side or moved out of the way so that they can compensate for the closing gap. Also, another good reason to sort of do the best you can at studying anatomy and just have some type of reference on hand somewhere is because he's a young guy, he's a young lad, and he's skinny, muscly, you know what I mean? So when he's got his arm up on his left arm, I added the tendons in there because he's still tensed up and ready to fight, so I imagine those tendons would be there, and I just thought they looked cool. So yeah, anatomy, studying anatomy and just practicing where these sort of muscles and tendons fall, yeah, it's going to do wonders for your work. So yeah, practice guys. So I'm going to start adding the expressions now as well, working on Deku's angry face a little bit. I'll be honest, I wasn't 100% sold on this until, you know, it kind of grew on me a little bit, but I didn't want to keep changing it because this would be the second time I started this again, because I really wasn't happy with the first attempt that I did of Deku. I just thought he looked a bit weird, he didn't look like my style, so yeah, I gave in and stopped. And I do a test here, like I merged the teeth just to see if I can get those anime looking chops, but it didn't look good, and I just preferred the feel of these more realistic teeth, plus semi-realistic is kind of my style, so yeah, this worked a lot better, and I'm a lot happier with how this came out. So yeah, Deku's expression looks good. Eri's facial expression I was pretty fine with anyway, because she just looks worried and scared during the whole fight. And yeah, so I'll quick anatomy pass on Eri. I don't sculpt her entire body, or I do some like basic sculpting of her off of camera as well, because, you know, YouTube, I don't want to put up a sculpt of a young girl. So yeah, just did all that off screen and jumped back in when she had some coverings on. But yeah, basic anatomy passes on both these characters, more so for where the clothing falls. But yeah, we'll jump back in a little bit once I'm past all of this anatomy sculpt, and we'll start talking about how and why I'm sculpting the clothing. So it's kind of the same deal here with Eri. Even though she's a lot skinnier, the same things will happen, you know. Even if there's a lot less muscle on or around the creases, the fat in the arms and the skin in the arms would still push out to the side the way that it does, like I was just sculpting in there. So yeah, just like little notes and things that will get easier as you notice them, guys. But yeah, don't let things change volume because they just look weird, alright? There we go. So I cut a bunch of that out, and we're just going to start straight on with the t-shirt and get Eri covered up because YouTube. So yeah, we're going to sculpt this t-shirt on. Again, I'm pretty sure it's just a t-shirt because she's only a little girl, so I'm not really sure. But sculpting the bandages was kind of interesting, but I wouldn't say it was a difficult thing to do. So yeah, we'll let this play out, and again, you can see here where I choose to put the creases from depends on how she's posed and where her body is in relation to the clothing. So yeah, it's a good reason to have a kind of at least a base sculpt of anatomy there. So yeah, we'll let this keep going, and I'll jump back in if anything interesting happens. So I didn't sculpt the front of her t-shirt too much because you're never going to see that. It's kind of pressed against the back of Deku. And yeah, we're going to start adding the bandages now. So it's a a mask extraction. I give it a quick remesh and then sculpt on it with dynamic topology on, just so that I don't, you know, like if it goes too deep, it doesn't look weird, you know, like the mesh still looks good because it adds the topology in for you. But yeah, we're just going to finish up all these bandages. I think I'm going to sculpt her feet next, and like with the feet, I'll sculpt one foot, duplicate the body, cut the foot off, and move it over the same way I just did with the bandage there. Because I'm not going to keep sculpting stuff over and over and over again, you know. So yeah, we'll jump back in a little bit when anything interesting pops up. Oh, also another good reason to have a base sculpt there is because if you notice that after I'd sculpted Deku's anatomy, her hands were actually poking into him, so I had to repose her hands. So, you know, it's good to think ahead a little bit, which is one of the reasons I didn't merge her hands when I was doing the anatomy sculpt, because I knew I'd probably have to change those hands positions after I've added Deku's anatomy and his clothing and stuff like that. So yeah, here we go, finalising the Eri sculpt. Pretty sure we're almost done with this. Once we get the hands and feet done, I think we move back onto Deku and start sculpting some of his costume. So hands, I always used to find hands pretty difficult. I used to struggle with them, but you know, practice makes perfect, guys. And like I keep saying, you've got a perfect piece of reference attached to the end of your arm. So if you struggle with arms, just keep practicing. And you know, if you want to see me do a normal speed version of a sculpt of something like a foot or a hand or even an ear or a nose, just to show you guys how I do it without sort of zipping through it at a rate of knots, then you know, let me know in the comments. I really don't mind. I'll do a quick sculpt of a hand and pop a quick tutorial up for it, you know, just how and why I do what I do, and you know, I'll help you look for some reference. I can choose some reference and stuff like that just to show you what sort of things I look for. Probably won't be taking any photos of my own hands though. So here's another good reason to have a base anatomy sculpted out, is because, you know, the bandages here, you can do a mask extract and all of the bandages are the exact shape of the arm, even the creases and stuff like that. So, you know, it's just a good reason to do a base sculpt, because, you know, you've got a decent mesh then to extract from as well. So we're going to sculpt some feet on Eri here. Again, if this is something you want to see me do a shortened, slowed down tutorial on for you, just to show you guys how I go about sculpting feet, let me know in the comments and I'll get right on it. But again, once you get used to doing this type of thing and you just know what sort of what you kind of need to add and remove and just how the sculpt should look, these things just get easier anyway, guys. So it's all about practice over and over. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you want to see me do a slowed down version of like a foot sculpt or something like that, and I'll see what I can do for you. So I'm pretty happy with Eri now. The only thing really left to do on her is pose her hair, but I'll come back and do that once everything's sculpted, so that I don't end up with loads of clipping and stuff like that. So yeah, we're going to merge Deku's last few body parts together. The head goes on here and the ears. I'm not sure if I sculpted it, if I merged the hands yet, but yeah, and again, another good example of here why having a base mesh is a good idea, or at least a base anatomy sculpt, because I extracted the clothing, and then when I started finishing off the area, I realised that everything's poking through the clothing, so I had to fix that. So just, yeah, like I said, another good reason to have a base anatomy sculpt ready to go. It just makes things easier when you're doing extractions for clothing and sculpting creases into clothing. So again, nothing new here. We're going to be sculpting Deku's hands, I believe, for the moment, and we just saw this on Eri, and you know, I've done this 100 times. So yeah, we'll let this keep going, and I'll jump back in if anything interesting comes up. So I did notice here when I was sculpting his fist, like the palm just seems a little long. So I'm pretty sure that like one of those, I fixed this in one of those moments where I was just doing a few tweaks without recording because I didn't want to waste time or space or footage or anything like that. So I just made a few tweaks while I was not recording, and I think that that's where I shortened the length of his palm. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it happens in a minute. But yeah, just the palm felt too long, and it felt weird. It was almost like he had ape-like hands, like he was walking on his second set of knuckles, you know. Yeah, it hasn't been done yet. It happens when I do it off screen in a little while, but yeah, we're going to start adding the belt, his utility belt. I only add the pouches to the front as well because he's got Eri sat on his back, sort of healing him while he's fighting. So I didn't add the pouches at the back because again, it's just more stuff that I've either got to sculpt that out of the way, like she's pushing it flat against his body, or it will end up clipping through the second sculpt, which would be Eri. So I just didn't bother adding them. I just add them to the front, and you know what? You get the idea. You know he's got a utility belt of some sort, and it works. So yeah, no point in wasting time on something that's going to be completely covered by another part of the sculpt. So there I'm just making all the extractions I need so that I've got some base meshes ready to sculpt for the leg braces and stuff like that. And then we're going to move on to sculpting Deku's, I don't know if you'd call it a onesie, but it's an all-in-one, like his PE suit, but it's the one that his mum made him. And yeah, this is his superhero version of, I guess, his mum's suit that she got for him. So he's had lots of support items added to it. I don't sculpt the arm braces because at this point in the fight he's sort of charged up to 100%, and they've just sort of like blown off of his hands, you know, like they're not even going to hold on. I was going to add some battle damage to his leg braces, but they looked weird. It didn't look right in 3D, so I just left the leg braces clean with a little bit of edge wear and only added battle damage to his sleeves on his shirt. Like, so this is maybe just before, I'm guessing, something like he's powered up and his braces have blasted off of his arms and stuff like that. But you know, a little bit of battle damage on his sleeves looked okay, but when I added battle damage to his braces or to the to Lemillion's cape, which is holding Eri on to his back with, they just started to look weird. So I kind of left them clean and yeah, I don't know, the battle damage just didn't look good on everything, you know, so I didn't bother with all of it. But yeah, we'll let this play out, because I'm just picking areas where his sort of skin would be catching the clothing, or his body's twisted underneath, and I'm pulling the creases from there, and just picking logical places to put them, you know. Yeah, this sort of thing is just going to take practice, guys. So I brought in a base mesh of the head because I'm going to sculpt his hero mask, and yeah, it made sense to bring in another clean mesh and just remesh it so that I've got like a nice surface to extrude from and extract from. Sorry. So yeah, I'll add some holes, do a sculpt on it. One thing I forgot to do while I was sculpting this is turn on sculpt on front facing only, so I end up like really messing up the back, and I had to go back in and repair that. I then also split it here, yeah, so I split it so that I know it's symmetrical, and yeah, then I'll you know, pop it on his face and see how it looks, or pop it near his face and see how it looks. But again, this is just using the trim tool, and rather than mirror and or anything like that and flip, because it's off axes, I actually just duplicated it, relocated the pivot, and then scaled it across from 1 to -1. And usually that flips it across on the axis pretty cleanly. So here we're going to start sculpting the leg braces as well. I kind of thought about just making loads of separate shapes and adding them in, but you know, like I decided not to. I really just wanted to have a go at sculpting these organically, even though they're kind of a hard surface item, just to see if I could do it, and it actually turned out really quite well. So yeah, I don't know, I just wanted to try something different with this to see if I could get a result that I wanted without just bringing in a bunch of shapes and, you know, trying to sculpt it out organically while still making it feel like a hard surface type of model, you know. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how these came out. We'll mirror it over in a minute and repose it a little bit for the other leg, because again, I'm not sculpting it again. I want them to match, so it just makes sense to mirror it and repose it in that sense. But yeah, I was pretty happy with how this came out, considering it's a hard surface model that I sculpted organically. So yeah, I'm pleased with that. I do try a bit of battle damage on these, and it just looks weird, like I said, so I leave them like as a clean sculpt, and I just feel like it looks better. It works better for the overall sculpture as well. Yeah, here we go. So I wasn't sure about it. I didn't like it. It looked like when a cartoon character blocks the barrel of a gun with his finger and it just blows out, so I just left it. I thought it looked a bit cheesy, so I didn't bother with it. And yeah, like I said, it looked like a Warner Brothers cartoon character had his gun blocked with a carrot by Bugs Bunny or something. So yeah, I moved away from that very quickly and just left the majority of it clean and left just the arms with the battle damage on them. I do add this hood thing here, even though you don't really see it. There are moments where you look through the sculpt where you can see that it looks like he's just wearing a t-shirt rather than has a hood on it, so I just added it in anyway. So we're going to start working on his shoes here with his, they're called iron soles, to protect his feet and things like that when he's charged up, because I think at this point again he's only firing at like 15 or 20% of his power, and he's still really badly injuring himself, so the support team sort of start giving him some really cool little gadgets just to support his body so that it doesn't crumble every time he tries to move. But yeah, this, guys, I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but like, this is an amazing show. Like, honestly, I was unsure about it. I saw it and I was like, it's just the same old, same old. It is so blooming good. Like, I can't tell you enough how much people would enjoy this. So, yeah, let's let this play out, and I'll jump in if anything interesting happens. Oh, before I do, I just want to say, again, I did the same here. Although I did extract the shapes, although they are separate shapes, sorry, I did extract them and sculpt them from, you know, an organic piece, and that I'm pretty happy with how they came out, because it still looks hard surface, you know, and hard surface sculpting and modelling is not something I normally do. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how they do end up coming out, but yeah, I'll jump back in if anything comes up, but we'll just let this shoe sculpt play out for now. So once this is done, I actually join all of the parts together and mirror it over again. It's important to know that if you're going to mirror something and you want to keep the parts separate, use the join function, not the merge function, because you'll, like it says on the description there, it will literally merge everything. But if you join it, then you still have the option to flip it over, separate it, and work on the individual pieces if you want to. So yeah, use the join function and then mirror if you're working on something like shoes and anything that's got multiple parts to it. So yeah, just doing a quick extraction here. I make some shapes and do well, it's not really an extraction. I do a voxel remesh on it with the one mesh turned off, which will then cut out of the base mesh that you want to keep. So yeah, again, I'm just going to work on Eri's hair here for a bit, sort of start working on the pose and see how much of the hair I can see from the front. And then I think we're going to jump back into doing a bit of tidy up on the cape, the Lemillion's cape that's holding Eri on. I think there's one more thing I had to add here, the shoulder pads. I add the shoulder pads in, and then I think we start painting this sculpt here. So yeah, I'll leave it here for now, and I'll jump back in if anything comes up or when we start the painting. So we are going to tidy up and do a sculpt on the cape. I do try some battle damage on this. Didn't like it, so I go back to just a clean sculpt of the cape, because I don't want to ruin the sculpt. It felt busy, do you know what I mean? Like if everything was like just battle damaged, it was almost like you weren't really sure where to look or where your eye was drawn to. So I come away from that idea. It just started to make the whole sculpt look a bit strange and busy, and I wasn't happy with it. So yeah, we'll again here, this is another reason to have a decent mesh underneath whatever it is you're sculpting. I know kind of where I want the creases to go, where they would need to pull from and stretch from and things like that. So yeah, again, I'll jump back in if anything interesting comes up, because yeah, we're just finishing off the cape, and I don't think I need to be talking through that. So yeah, I'll jump back in a minute, guys. so here we are, we're going to start the painting. Again, there's really no point in painting things that you're not going to see, so yeah, we just go through this with the same skin painting that we do on other characters. It's the base mesh, so a skin color at the bottom, a top skin which you can turn the opacity down on, and then you add the reds and the blues and the yellows and things like that. So it'll be, like I said in the previous videos, it'll be red for warmth and where the blood vessels are, blue or deep purple for where the veins, the darker veins go, or anywhere where you want depth, and yellow just where there's going to be fat or bone. So yeah, you know, sort of practice, take a look at how other people do these types of things and where they place these colors, and yeah, you know, we'll you'll eventually get a decent-ish representation of skin. It still feels a bit stylized, but I'm always happy with it. This is how I paint skin, and I enjoy doing it this way. So yeah, we'll let this play out for a little while, and I'll jump back in when we move off and on to adding the sort of like dirt and wear pass, and I'll just talk a little bit about that. So here I am just adding a few of the pieces that I forgot about, like the shoulder pads, and cleaning up around the neck area on the on Deku's superhero suit. And then I think we're going to start moving on to adding a wear pass on Deku. I can't remember if I move on to painting Eri's skin or I do that all in one go. But yeah, well, I'll jump back in when we do. Oh, so another good thing actually before I do jump off about adding or having these parts in is that once I added them, I realised that there would be more creases coming from these areas because it's a different material, right? So it feels like a leathery sort of material on his shoulder pads, which would mean that, you know, where the stitching is, and it would pull tighter on the clothing underneath. So I added a little bit more creases from there just to make it feel a bit more believable. So with this face mask, I'm assuming it's metal. I might be wrong. So I just add a dirt pass to that and a little bit of a wear pass on it. The same with the shoulder pads, and then everywhere else I'll just add a dirt pass, like, because these guys have been fighting, and you know, they're going to be getting dirty. The only place that I really need to add an edge wear pass on this is the braces on his leg and his iron soles, because they are metal. So, you know, with paint on top of that, you'll get chips, and mostly around the edges and things like that, and anywhere that there's constant movement, you'll get edge wear. And because these are mobility tools for Deku, I just added an edge pass on the whole thing, really, just because I know it would be worn. And yeah, right, so we'll let this play out for a little while again, because, you know, I've got to paint two characters here, and it's going to be a lot of the same on both characters. So yeah, I'll jump back in if anything comes up, but yeah, we'll just let this go for now. while this finishes up here, the adding the dirt pass and finalizing the edge wear and stuff like that on this one, I just want to quickly say and make people aware that this isn't a tutorial in the sense of press here, go there, do this, do that. It's more of a way to give you an idea of what I do while I'm sculpting, maybe a bit of an insight into what I'm thinking about, although I do find myself repeating a lot of the things that I've said in older videos, and I'm not really sure how to get around that because it's a lot of the same process just with different types of characters. But yeah, these aren't tutorials in that sense of the word, so if you guys want to see some tutorials, then let me know what you want to see, and I'll try and get a short tutorial made on it. So yeah, while we were talking about that, I added the dirt pass to Deku's hands and to Eri's feet because they're both obviously, that's where the exposed skin is on these characters. And then I added dirt pass to the bandages as well because I'm guessing that these aren't brand new bandages, especially if they've been on the battlefield for a little while. So yeah, finally adding the sort of electricity that builds up when he's using one for all. I go through a few options, like particularly here. This one just felt like it was pulled across his body and it was distracting, so I add it around his sort of like punching hand to make it feel like that's charging up. But again, I've done this in other videos, and it's not a difficult thing to do, adding sort of lightning like this. It's I think it's more to do with the way that the light affects it. So I think you turn it to always unlit, and then you do turn up the bloom on the render settings, and it should make it glow like electricity or some type of energy. Okay, so we're just going to add a quick 3-point light setup. One thing I do on this sculpt is I have pushed the depth of field, or not the depth of field, the focal length on it, so his arms and things, everything's closer to the camera, so I've exaggerated that a little bit. And I mean, I'm pretty happy with how this came out. As far as sculpting Deku and Eri, I think it came out really good. I've seen a few other sculpts out there of this, and they're pretty good. So I'm super happy with this. I want to quickly thank one of my subscribers who mentioned that they would be really keen to see this with their son. So yeah, David Buxton, if you're still watching, I hope your son likes the sculpt, mate, and thank you for the support. But other than that, yeah, we'll let these last few turnarounds play out, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe, like and subscribe. Go and follow me on Instagram, and yeah, thanks for the support, everybody. Happy sculpting, and I'll catch you in the next one.